it.
All right, the assignment was to look at Ryan Pohl's draft picks and pick the 5 best. Honestly, it would have been easy to find the 5 worst. He's not had a great track record, not gonna lie. I'm surprised he's still here, but he is. So this is a big draft ahead. Let's look at the 5 best draft picks that Ryan Pohl has made, because he has made some good ones in fairness, so you want to be fair. Let's start with number 5. We'll go backwards. Gervon Dexter Sr. All right, the 3-technique tackle who I think had a good year. Clay, I think at times you've overstated how good that year is. On tape, you see him flash at times, but I think that he has potential. He can fit in this next scheme.
If he becomes more consistent, he'll be a real weapon. Got to stay healthy, and he's got to be consistent.
As a second rounder, though, you think that he's a guy that has to produce at a high level. In the second round, you don't want just starters. You want impact players.
I know that this is a very, very good culture guy. This is first one in, last one out. He transformed his body last offseason. I think the future is bright for him. And I think Andrew Billings getting injured also stunted his growth a little bit, because Billings was allowing him to have a lot more.
That's a good point. So you look at him and Dennis Allen's scheme as a guy that is a starter. You don't have to worry about addressing that so much in free agency. You can look at some depth pieces, but Gervon Dexter, Sr., number 5. All right, number 4, Darnell Wright. There we go. Darnell Wright, the right tackle. He's the 4th best. I think he's only 4th highest because you expect more. He was drafted 10th. They moved down and passed on. You know who they passed on. They passed on Jalen Carter to get to Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright is a fixture on the right side. He's durable. I like his nasty. I like his technique. But I think he's got to be at a point where in year 3, next year at this time when we're talking about draft picks, he's got to be in a Pro Bowl caliber spot. You consider him the guy who's at the best at his position in the NFC.
He's dependable. He's reliable. He's in there, and he was the best guy on the offensive line the last 2 years.
That's not saying much for the Bears, though. He's got to be the right tackle in Ben Johnson's offense that Ben Johnson is used to having. He's not 𝗵𝗍 Sewell, but he's got to be the Bears' version of 𝗵𝗍 Sewell.
Is he catching touchdowns this year?
I hope not. I hope they left the silliness there. The Bears have to walk before they run, and enough of the fancy stuff. He's not 𝗵𝗍 Sewell. All right, number 3. Ruthie's going to like this one.
Yes!
This is the punter from down under. Don't call him that.
I thought he'd be number 1.
Tory Taylor. He is a 4th-round reach. This was an arrogant pick at the time. This was a show-off. Hey, look, I'm going to draft a punter. But you know what? It was a heck of a draft pick because he came through. He lived up to the hype as well as any player on that roster has. Tory Taylor is a weapon on a defensive football team. He is your 12th defender.
Love it.
I like Tory Taylor.
I think he should be number 1.
Clay, you have a hard time accepting the reality that a punter is actually a good draft pick?
I don't know if you put Tory Taylor above Darnell Wright as a number at the draft pick. Just the importance of right tackle, and Darnell Wright has become a guy that you can rely on. Tory Taylor would have to be hitting 6-yard bombs every time for me to consider him at the same level as a Darnell Wright.
Is it just because he was drafted higher than you were in the NFL
We're both
draft?
4th-round picks.
Okay, but I mean, he might have gone a few picks higher.
Yeah.
Tory Taylor's a good pick. I think he's going to be here for a very long time. All right, number 2. Number 2 is Caleb Williams. Number 2 is Caleb Williams, and he's not number 1 because overall he didn't have the kind of season that you want from a 1st overall pick. He didn't have the kind of year that you say, okay, he removes all the doubt. That would make him the number 1 pick. Plus, it was the easiest pick that Ryan Pohl's ever made. There was no necessarily suspense, no drama. It wasn't hard because the consensus, he didn't even talk to Jaden Daniels. We can talk about that another day. But I think that at the time, everybody, I guess I mean me, understood why Caleb Williams was there for the taking. I just expected more like a lot of people. It still was a good pick. I think everything that they thought about Caleb Williams on draft night, still possible.
Yeah.
So if that's true and you accept that premise, Caleb Williams will one day be the best draft pick that Ryan Pohl's ever made.
Argument to that right now is Jaden Daniels made the NFC Championship game, was a Pro Bowler, and then obviously you're able to see Bo Nix in the playoffs. You're able to see Drake May have a strong year. You're able to see a lot of other rookie quarterbacks perform maybe a little bit better than Caleb.
I think that's true, but for the Bears, in the context of their roster and getting them closer to a championship, Caleb Williams still can achieve everything that they drafted him to achieve. So he's number 2 on the list.
He's got the special, right?
He's got the special. He's got the thing that you like.
Kyler Gordon.
The special. All right, Kyler Gordon. There we go. Kyler Gordon was the best draft pick that Ryan Pohl has made. He was the first defense, or they drafted him in the first draft he ever made, along with 𝗵𝗶 who's not on this list, interestingly enough.
That was my biggest.
And Kyler Gordon can do it all. I think there are better overall defensive players. Jalen Johnson comes to mind. Montez Sweat could come to mind. But there's not a more indispensable defender on the Bears defense than Kyler Gordon. Great value pick.
𝗵𝗶, I think the injury this season obviously makes his future a little bit in question. So that I think hurts, his stock in terms of, is he one of the best picks? Another guy not on the list, Rome Odunze.
Rome Odunze, okay, Rome Odunze, not on the list because he's drafted 9th. You draft a guy 9th, I want him to be Pro Bowl caliber. I want him to be big play guy. I don't want to be the guy that's most impressive thing about Rome Odunze is the fact that he does good commercials.
I like Rome Odunze, but I think there's a lot of receivers available in the draft that you could have got later, and you could have went defensive end. I thought Braxton Jones, a 5th-round pick that turned into your left tackle for 3 years, is a guy maybe you could have put in there somewhere. But Velus Jones, maybe?
Velus Jones.
Maybe the Chase.
This is the 5 best, not the 5 worst, Clay. All right, get it straight. I think the last thing on Odunze is that when you have a guy like that, you don't want to have the debate that exists still about the number 9 pick a year later, because you could have a good debate whether or not that was the right person at the right time.
Braxton Jones?
No, Ryan, I'm talking about Rome Odunze.
But I just want your thoughts on Braxton real fast.
Braxton Jones, that's a good one. He was number 7 probably. But he's serviceable.
Sure.
He's not.
Fifth round.
He's not spectacular. I know. It was a reach. It was a good find.